Lily balanced on the edge of the skyscraper, her toes inches from empty air, arms spread wide like wings that would never fly. Her voice cracked as she whispered into the darkness, "Father, I'm ready to be with you in paradise." The words dissolved into the wind. A heart condition had stolen her father just 3 weeks prior. Her mother had disappeared without explanation 5 years ago, leaving behind only questions and silence. The small house felt suffocating, each day dragging longer than the last, the weight of existence crushing her spirit. Lily felt hollow, carved out by grief with nothing anchoring her to this world anymore. Tonight wasn't impulsive. Tonight was the night she'd chosen to end everything. She bent her knees, preparing to leap. But in that instant, the unthinkable occurred. A bullet tore through her shoulder. She stumbled forward, gasping as the pain exploded through her body. 2 more shots buried themselves in her flesh. Her knees gave out. She crashed onto the rough surface, hands sliding through her own warm blood. Agony screamed through every nerve. This wasn't the death she'd planned. Someone had hijacked her final moment. Figures emerged from the shadows at the far end of the rooftop. Men dressed entirely in black, moving with military precision, spreading out in formation. In their center stood a man with a gun still raised, his gaze cold and calculating, a devastatingly handsome, lethal man. "Secure the perimeter," he commanded, his voice like ice. "Now." One of the men near the stairwell entrance froze, his eyes widening as he studied Lily's face more closely. "Sir, that's not Marcus Chen. That's a complete stranger. We just shot the wrong target." The words cut through the night like an alarm. Wrong target, wrong person. Kaimin's expression hardened. His eyes shifted to Lily, bleeding and shaking on the concrete. Not the figure he'd been tracking across 3 buildings all evening. The mission had been flawless. The timing, perfect. The intelligence precise. Marcus Chen was supposed to be standing here. Instead, a stranger lay dying where his bullet had landed. Lily tried to crawl away, fingers slipping in her own blood. Her voice emerged thin and broken. "You should have just let me finish it." He crouched beside her, his face unreadable. Up close, the damage was devastating. Blood soaking through her shirt, the trembling that wouldn't cease, the breathing that sounded like shattered glass. "Get her secured," he ordered, cold and absolute. "No ambulance calls. Erase the footage. Execute." Gloved hands pressed against her wounds. Someone folded a jacket under her head. Footsteps echoed around them as the city continued, sparkling below, completely indifferent to her suffering. Lily stared up at the empty sky, her vision blurring. "I wanted to jump," she breathed. "I wanted my father back." Kaimin didn't respond. He holstered his weapon, eyes scanning the adjacent building, the stairwell entrance, every angle where this mistake could multiply. He didn't look away from the threat assessment, even as her blood warmed the space between them. He slid one arm beneath her shoulders and another under her legs, moving with practiced efficiency. She cried out as pain flared white-hot through her body. The world tilted, and she caught the scent of rain and gunpowder on his jacket. She wanted to despise the strength that lifted her, the control that had denied her choice. "Why couldn't you just let me die?" she whispered, her vision swimming. Kaimin's gaze remained hard as steel. "Because I determine what happens on my territory." The team closed ranks around them, a silent force. The stairwell door clicked open. Someone whispered coordinates into a radio. Someone else ripped a security camera from its mount. The night consumed the evidence as thoroughly as it had consumed her hope. Lily's consciousness began tunneling, darkness creeping in from the edges while brightness remained in the fide center. She thought of her father's gentle smile, of the silence after his funeral, of the empty chair where he used to read. She thought of her mother's shoes still waiting by the door from the day she never returned. Her head fell against Kaimin's shoulder. His heartbeat was steady and merciless, like a clock counting down to the end. "Stay conscious," a voice commanded near her ear. Not gentle, not kind, just an order wrapped in steel. He ruled the syndicate. How had he allowed this to happen? They exited into a service hallway, flickering bulbs, peeling walls, an elevator that opened without sound. The men entered first, weapons ready, eyes scanning. Kaimin followed with Lily in his arms, his shadow stretching long across the floor. As the doors started closing, a voice crackled through an earpiece. "Eyes on Marcus North Tower, moving quickly." Kai Min didn't glance up. "Too late," he said flatly. The elevator sealed them inside, and the night kept its secrets buried. 5 days had crawled past since Lily was shot by mistake. Her eyes opened slowly to an unfamiliar ceiling, smooth and white, lit by the low buzz of fluorescent lights. The sharp smell of disinfectant filled her nostrils. Her body felt heavy, stitched together and bruised. Every breath dragged fire across her ribs. She turned her head slowly. The room was stark and clinical, just a bed, a metal tray of medical instruments, and a single chair pushed against the wall. This definitely wasn't a hospital. There were no flowers, no nurses, no beeping monitors, only silence broken occasionally by footsteps echoing outside the metal door. Her pulse accelerated. "Where am I?" She attempted to sit up, but pain ripped through her side, forcing a cry from her lips. Her hand pressed against the bandaged wounds. Tears burned her eyes. Not just from physical pain, but from the bitter irony. She'd wanted to die, and instead she was trapped alive. The door opened with a mechanical hiss. 2 men in dark suits entered, faces expressionless, firearms visible at their sides. They didn't acknowledge her, only checked the IV line connected to her arm before returning to their positions by the door like sentries. "Where am I?" Lily whispered, her throat parched. "Why am I being kept here?" Neither man answered. Their silence felt heavier than words. A moment later, Kai Min entered. He commanded the space without effort, sharp suit, cold eyes, a presence that felt more dangerous than any weapon he carried. He studied her like she was a puzzle he hadn't yet solved. Lily forced her weak voice to strengthen. "Why didn't you let me die? Why am I still breathing?" Kai Min's expression didn't shift. "You were shot during my operation. That makes you my responsibility until I confirm your identity." "I already told you," her voice cracked. "I was attempting suicide. That's the truth." His expression remained unchanged. "Nobody stands on rooftops accidentally. Nobody appears at my operation site, by coincidence. Until I'm convinced you're not a setup, you remain in this room." "What?" "I climbed onto your rooftop because it was one of the tallest structures in the city," Lily insisted, her expression screaming honesty. "You speak like someone foolish or dishonest." Kai raised an eyebrow, her chest constricted. Prisoner. That's what she'd become, trapped by the man who'd stolen her choice to end things. Kai Min turned toward the exit, his men following. The steel door clicked shut behind them, and silence wrapped around her again. She closed her eyes, exhaustion pulling her under. Then she heard it. A voice, low and familiar, just outside in the corridor. "Kai, your precision is deteriorating." Lily's eyes flew open. That voice, deep and steady and impossible to forget. It sounded exactly like her mother's voice. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She swung her legs off the bed, teeth clenched against the sharp pain tearing through her stitches. She staggered a step toward the door, her knees buckling beneath her weight. "Mom!" she gasped, reaching out desperately. The world spun, white spots exploding across her vision. Pain dragged her backward, her body crumpling onto the edge of the bed. Her breathing came in ragged gasps. The voice had vanished. Only silence remained beyond the door. Her hands shook as she clutched the sheets tightly. "No, it can't be," she whispered. "If she was alive, we would have found her all these years." She buried her face in the pillow, tears soaking through the fabric. "I must be hallucinating." A month dragged by. Lily remained confined inside Kai Min's estate, surrounded by walls that felt more like a cage than shelter. His men never left her alone, sometimes watching, sometimes interrogating, always circling her like predators. They kept hammering her with the same questions, drilling into her until her voice went hoarse. "Are you working with Marcus Chen? What were you doing on that rooftop? Who hired you?" Her answers never varied. "No, nobody. No one hired me." But no one believed her. The day Kai Min returned from his overseas trip, the atmosphere in the estate shifted dramatically. The men grew sharper, the air heavier, like the walls themselves braced for violence. That evening, 2 guards burst into her room. "Get up," one snapped, hauling her up from the bed. Lily's heart hammered. Her wrists ached from their grip as they dragged her through dim corridors, down a flight of cold metal stairs into a basement room that reeked of iron and smoke. The walls were black and bare. A single metal chair sat in the center under a hanging bulb. Chains clinked on the floor. Kai sat across the room, his jacket removed, his sleeves rolled up, his eyes locked on her the moment she entered. Calm, cold, ruthless. "Secure her," he ordered. The men shoved her into the chair. Metal bit into her skin as cuffs snapped around her wrists and ankles. The steel was freezing. Her breath came fast, panic rising, in her chest. Kai stood slowly and deliberately. He pressed a button on a remote in his hand. The projector on the wall buzzed to life. Photos flashed onto the screen. A woman's face from different angles, grainy surveillance images, blurred captures. Marcus Chen. "Do you know him?" His voice was sharp, cutting through the silence. Lily shook her head violently. "No, I don't." Kai leaned closer, his shadow falling over her. "If you lie, you die." Lily flinched, her body trembling against the restraints, but her voice cracked out, desperate and raw. "I don't know him. I already told you I was trying to end my life that night. Suicide. I don't know Marcus Chen. I swear on everything." He stared at her, unmoving, as if her words were smoke, easily dismissed. His hand moved across the table. A pistol gleamed under the harsh light. Kai picked it up, weighed it in his palm, and aimed it directly at her forehead. "You're either the unluckiest stranger I've ever encountered," his voice was, low and deadly steady, "or you're playing me for a fool. And I don't tolerate fools." Lily's tears blurred her vision, but she held his gaze. Her heart screamed to beg, to plead, to collapse. Yet something inside her, the grief, the loss, the anger at being kept alive against her will, forced the words out between her sobs. "Then pull the trigger. At least this time it'll be my decision." The room froze. His men exchanged tense glances. Kai Min didn't move, his finger resting just above the trigger, his eyes locked on hers, calculating, unreadable. The silence was heavier than the threat itself. Hours later, Kai Min's voice was sharp as glass when he gave the order. "Prepare her." Two maids swept into Lily's room with a black sequined dress and heels she could barely walk in. They didn't answer her questions, only adjusted and pinned, transforming her from prisoner to decoration. When the mirror caught her reflection, Lily hardly recognized the hollow-eyed woman staring back. Within the hour, she was in Kai's car. The vehicle stopped outside a nightclub pulsing with bass. Bodies crowded the entrance, but inside was another realm. VIP lounges draped in shadows, private booths where fortunes changed hands, smoke curling through golden light. Kai walked like he owned the place. His men flanked him, eyes constantly scanning. Lily trailed at his side, her wrists tingling as if invisible restraints were still there. He leaned close, his breath grazing her ear. "Run, and you're dead before you reach the exit. Smile if you value your life." Her lips twitched, barely forming a mask of composure. From a corner booth, Kai sat, his gaze never leaving her. He didn't touch the drink placed before him, didn't blink when laughter erupted around them. He only watched, studied, waiting to see if she would break. Then it happened. The first gunshot cracked above the music. Screams tore through the crowd. Glass shattered as bodies hit the floor. Lily froze on the stairs, leading. Down from the lounge, panic choking her. Kai's men scrambled, returning fire. But the assault was too fast, too coordinated. Unknown attackers flooding the club, hunting one name, "Find Kai Min." Lily's heart hammered. The shooters scanned faces, weapons raised. She stumbled back, desperate to hide. Then Kai was there. He caught her by the wrist, pulling her flush against him. His mask cracked, not in fear, but in calculation. He had no weapon. He'd been caught unprepared. The attackers swept through the crowd, searching. Kai turned with her toward the dance floor where terrified clubgoers had shifted into chaotic movement. And then, suddenly, as the attackers moved closer, he turned to Lily. His mouth crashed against hers. Lily gasped, his hand pressed against her back, the other gripping her jaw. His lips were demanding on hers, fierce, drowning her in the taste of smoke and steel. The kiss was desperate yet calculated, a weapon disguised as passion. To the shooters, they looked like nothing more than another reckless couple tangled in the chaos. To Lily, it was fire, fear, and confusion all at once. Her fists pressed weakly against his chest, but he didn't release her. His body shielded hers, his eyes half closed but sharp, always scanning, always calculating, even while his lips claimed hers as cover. The music still throbbed beneath the screams. Gunfire echoed. Yet in that moment, Lily couldn't tell if the trembling in her chest was terror or something far more dangerous. The estate reeked of gunpowder and antiseptic. Downstairs, Kai's men groaned as doctors stitched their wounds in his private medical wing. The echo of gunfire still clung to the halls, a reminder of how close death had come. Lily paced her room, fury boiling under her skin. Her lips still tingled, the ghost of him refusing to fade. She didn't care about the danger or the shooters or the blood. All she could hear was the pounding of her own heart when he kissed her. She was furious and irritated with herself that a stranger's kiss could affect her this way. When the door swung open, Kai stepped in. His black shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled to his elbows, hands faintly smeared with someone else's blood. He looked as if nothing had touched him, as if chaos itself bent to his will. Lily's chest heaved, the words ripped out before she could stop them. "How dare you?" Kai arched an eyebrow, tossing his jacket onto a chair. "How dare I what?" "You know exactly what I'm referring to." Her voice cracked, equal parts rage and humiliation. "That kiss," he smirked, slow and cutting. "Don't create drama over a simple kiss." Her hands balled into fists. "A simple kiss?" He leaned against the wall, cool and untouchable. "I did it to keep us breathing. Nothing more. You should be grateful." Her throat tightened, anger fighting with shame. "Instead of apologizing, you stand here acting superior." His gaze flicked to her trembling lips, then back to her eyes. He didn't speak. Lily swallowed hard, the truth spilling out like a confession she could never take back. "That was my first kiss." For the first time, Kai's mask cracked just slightly. His eyes sharpened, his smirk fading into something unreadable. "I certainly didn't want to have my first kiss with a dangerous, arrogant man like you," she spat, her voice breaking on the last word. The silence between them was heavy, charged. Kai pushed off the wall and took a step closer, his shadow falling over her. "You're not a child. How could that have been your first kiss?" he scoffed. "That's none of your concern. Just don't do it again." His lips curved, faint and mocking, but his eyes were locked on hers with unsettling intensity. "Then you should pray it's the last." "Let me go," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "I have nothing to do with Marcus Chen. I don't know him. You're just wasting your time keeping me here." "And yet you appeared in the middle of my operation," he said, his tone quiet and dangerous, where only Marcus should have been. Her breath shook. "It wasn't a setup. It was suicide. Do you understand me? I was going to end my life. That's all." The word cracked like glass in the air. For a moment, silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Then Kai leaned back in his chair, his voice slow and deliberate. "I'm not certain of your identity, Lily. Until I am, you don't leave my sight." Her chest collapsed, her throat burning as tears threatened to spill. She realized then that nothing she said would set her free. To him, she wasn't a grieving daughter. She was a suspect, a puzzle, maybe even a threat. The next morning, golden light flooded her room, but it brought no comfort. Lily sat curled on the bed, her forehead pressed to her knees. She thought of her father, gone only weeks now, and the loneliness cut deeper than any wound. Her mind replayed her father's gentle voice, the bedtime stories that soothed her to sleep, the warmth of his embrace. A sob escaped her chest before she could stop it. "Papa, I miss you. I want to hug you again, please, just one more time." Her tears dampened the sheets, but no one came. No one ever would. 2 days later, the ocean swallowed the horizon. Kai's yacht cut through the black water, guarded by armed men who stood like statues on the deck. The night air stung Lily's skin as she walked to the railing, her hair whipping in the wind. No one stopped her. No one thought she was brave enough or broken enough to try. But the waves called to her, whispering of escape, of reunion, of peace. She gripped the rail, her knuckles white. "Papa," her whisper broke in the wind. "I'm coming to you." And then she climbed. The plunge stole her breath, the icy water slicing into her lungs. She sank fast, her limbs heavy, the ocean pulling her into its black embrace. For one heartbeat, it felt like release. Then came the roar. A splash tore through the night, and suddenly arms locked around her waist, strong and unyielding, dragging her upward when she wanted only to fall. Through the blur of salt and darkness, she saw his face. Kai's jaw clenched, his eyes blazing with fury, every muscle straining against the current. He pulled her to the surface, his voice breaking through the waves, raw and furious. "Don't you dare die on me, Lily," she gasped, coughing seawater, her body trembling in his grip. The ocean still churned around them, but nothing was louder than the storm in his voice. For the second time, death had slipped from her grasp, and again, it was because of him. Lily's body trembled as she lay sprawled across the wet deck, coughing seawater until her lungs burned. Her soaked dress clung to her skin, making her shiver violently in the night air. The murmurs of men around her pressed in, heavy with disbelief. None of them had ever seen Kai dive into danger for anyone. None of them had ever seen their boss bleed and choke for someone else's life. But the awe was short-lived. Kai towered over her, his dripping shirt molding to every hard line of his chest, his dark hair plastered to his forehead. Water streamed down his arms, but it did nothing to cool the fire in his eyes. He paced in front of her like a predator cornering its prey, his voice sharp enough to cut through bone. "Do you want to die so badly?" His tone thundered, making the deck seem smaller, his shadow larger. "Do you even comprehend what it means when you throw yourself into the ocean under my protection?" Lily's lips trembled, her teeth chattering from cold and rage all at once. She forced herself to raise her head, meeting his glare despite her weakness. "I didn't ask you to save me," she cried hoarsely, her voice breaking but defiant. "I wanted to die. That was my choice, not yours." The men stiffened, their eyes darting between her fragile frame and their furious leader. No one dared move. Kai bent slightly, his face just inches from hers, his words slow and venomous. "Your life stopped, being your choice the moment you entered my world. If you want death so badly, don't you dare attempt it in front of me again." His voice, low but deadly, crushed her like a weight. Shame burned hotter than her tears, which now spilled freely down her pale cheeks. She turned her face away, hugging her knees to her chest as if she could curl herself out of existence. No one spoke another word until the yacht docked. By the time they reached the estate, Lily's body was stiff with exhaustion. She walked silently between Kai's men, her feet dragging, her eyes fixed on the polished marble floors. But then her steps faltered. There, at the base of the sweeping staircase, stood a woman in a pressed suit, a tablet in her hand. She looked older, with streaks of gray in her hair and faint lines around her eyes. But Lily's heart recognized her instantly. Her breath caught, her pulse raced, and for a moment she thought she was dreaming. "Mom?" The words slipped from her lips like a cry torn, straight from her soul. Her knees weakened, her vision blurred with tears. The woman turned, startled, her eyes locking onto Lily's. Lily dropped the weight of her despair, sprinting across the room with tears flowing faster than she could wipe them. "Mom, it's me. It's Lily." Her voice cracked with every syllable as she collided into her, throwing her arms around her. She clung to her desperately, sobbing into her suit. "I thought you were gone forever. I thought I'd lost you." For one fleeting second, the warmth of her presence filled the hollow void in her chest. But then, slowly, her hands lifted, not to embrace her, but to push her away. Lily blinked, confusion slicing through her relief. Her eyes weren't filled with recognition. They were sharp, guarded, unreadable. "I don't know you," she said flatly. Lily's body froze. Her lips parted, her mind scrambling for sense. No, Mom. It's me. It's Lily, your daughter. Don't you remember?" She shook her head, tears streaming. "Please, you used to call me Sunshine. You used to... I think you're mistaken." She interrupted coldly, her face a mask. "I've never seen you before." The words shattered her. The ground seemed to tilt beneath her, her entire being crashing in on itself. She staggered back a step, her hands trembling. No, this isn't real. You're lying." Her sobs echoed against the marble walls, her tears streaming without end. The woman, her mother, or the stranger in her mother's face, watched her without flinching. And from the staircase above, Kai leaned casually against the railing, hands in his pockets, his eyes fixed on the scene. His expression betrayed nothing, but his silence screamed volumes. For Lily, drowning in the ocean would have been kinder than this denial. Lily's sobs had not yet dried when her rage began to rise. Her heart beat violently in her chest, not from grief alone, but from the cruel silence of the man watching her from the staircase. Her eyes snapped upward, locking onto Kai. "You? Her voice cracked, trembling but fierce. "What did you do to her? What did you do to my mother? Why doesn't she remember me?" The men in the hall stiffened at her defiance, but Kai didn't flinch. "I don't know what you're referring to, miss." He descended the stairs slowly, each step deliberate. "My mother isn't a twin," Lily pressed on, her fists trembling at her sides. "So don't you dare act like this is some mistake. She is my mother, my only family, and you've done something to her." But instead of responding, Kai's eyes lingered, not on her tears, not on her fury, but on her lips. His mind flickered back to that night in the club, the heat of her mouth beneath his, the way her breath had stuttered against him. It had been a kiss born of desperation, a cover, but the memory had burrowed deeper than he'd admit. Lily's voice trembled with frustration. "Answer me. Are you unwell, Lily? I have matters to attend to rather than participate in this nonsense. Of yours. How is my personal assistant your mother?" With a bitter sob, she turned away from him, storming down the corridor before her knees could betray her strength. That night, the estate was quiet, its corridors dimly lit by cold chandeliers. Lily could not sleep, not with her mother's face burned into her memory, blank and unknowing. The unanswered questions gnawed at her, refusing to let her rest. She slipped from her room, her footsteps soft against the polished floor. Her heart pounded with each turn of the hall until she reached the small office where she'd last seen her. "Mom?" Her whisper carried both hope and fear. Sarah looked up from the desk, surprised. Her expression softened slightly, but it was not the warmth she longed for. "You shouldn't be here." Lily stepped closer, tears already stinging her eyes. "Why don't you remember me? I'm your daughter. I'm Lily. You used to read to me every night. You used to hold my hand when I was scared. Her voice broke. "You can't have forgotten all of that." Sarah's shoulders sagged. She closed the folder in her hands and let out a weary sigh. "I wish I could give you the answers you're seeking, but I can't remember you." Lily's chest heaved. "That's impossible. You're my mother. You raised me." For the first time, her eyes softened, guilt flashing in them. She lowered her voice. "I was in a terrible accident years ago. I nearly lost my life, my memory. It never returned." She paused, her gaze dropping. "Kai was the one who rescued me. He paid my medical expenses. He gave me this position. Without him, I would have died." Lily's heart cracked under the weight of her words. Her tears spilled freely. But this time, they weren't just for her father. They were for the mother who had lived, but had forgotten the life they once shared. Lily's hands trembled as she knocked gently on Kai's office door. Her heart was a mess of emotions, gratitude, confusion, and something she didn't want to name. "Enter," his voice commanded from inside. She stepped in quietly, the soft click of the door behind her echoing in the large room. Kai was seated behind his massive desk, papers neatly stacked, his cold expression illuminated by the warm glow of a lamp. Lily hesitated, then bowed her head slightly. "I came to thank you," she said, her voice soft but steady. Kai looked up, one eyebrow arched. "For what precisely?" "For saving my mother years ago," Lily said, her eyes shining. "If not for you, she would have died. You gave her a second chance at life, and now you've given me something I thought I'd lost forever." Her voice cracked slightly, but she pressed on, forcing a smile through her tears. "A family. A reason to keep living." Kai leaned back in his chair, studying her intently. The sincerity in her tone unsettled him more than any enemy ever had. "There's nothing I can possibly do to fully repay that," Lily continued. She bit down nervously on her lower lip, her eyes fluttering, downward. "But if there's anything I can do for you, just name it." Her words hung in the air, fragile yet daring. Kai's gaze drifted again to her lips. The way she bit them made him feel unstable. That same mouth that had burned him in the club, a memory that wouldn't leave him no matter how hard he tried. This time she wasn't pretending, she was offering. His voice came out lower than he intended, almost a growl. "Kiss me." Lily's eyes widened, her lips parting in shock. "What?" "If you want to repay me," Kai said, his stare fixed on her mouth, "then give me a kiss." The room went still. Lily blinked, her face flushing with both embarrassment and outrage. Then she frowned deeply, her voice sharp with indignation. "You pervert!" Kai's lips curved into the faintest smirk, amused by her fire. But instead of storming out in anger, Lily spun on her heel, her face red, and marched toward the door. Just before stepping out, she pressed her hand to her mouth, stifling a laugh. She walked down the corridor, smiling to herself, her heart beating a little faster than she wanted to admit. Lily had started spending every spare moment with her mother. She still didn't remember her, but she filled the gaps with stories. She sat with her in the quiet library, her voice soft as she painted memories of a life she had forgotten. "Dad loved when you danced in the kitchen," she whispered, smiling through tears. "Even though you had no rhythm, he would laugh and say you were the most beautiful woman any man could hope for." Sarah listened quietly, her expression clouded with guilt and longing. She didn't remember the moments Lily spoke of, but she clung to her words as if they were fragments of a life she wanted to believe was real. "You speak about him like he was everything," she said softly. "He was," Lily answered, her eyes wet. "And so were you." She studied her for a long moment before clearing her throat. "Lily, do you have feelings for Mr. Kai?" Lily blinked, caught off guard. Her cheeks warmed. "What? No!" She laughed awkwardly, waving her hand dismissively. "Of course not. He's arrogant, controlling, impossible to deal with. Definitely not my type." But her mother only smiled knowingly, as if she'd caught a secret she wasn't ready to admit. Later that evening, the estate's terrace stretched out into the cool twilight, the sky painted in shades of pink and gold. Kai stood with a golf club in hand, sharp and precise even in something as casual as sport. "Your stance is completely wrong," he said, stepping behind Lily as she awkwardly held the club. "I don't even enjoy golf," she muttered, pouting. "It seems boring." Kai's breath brushed against her ear as he adjusted her hands. "It's not about enjoyment. It's about control, precision, focus." Her pulse quickened when his hands slid over hers, guiding her grip, their bodies brushing with every shift. His chest pressed against her back, his arms steadying hers. The contact sent heat rushing through, her veins she couldn't ignore. She swallowed hard, trying to steady herself. "Thank you for allowing me to stay here with my mother." "You don't need to thank me," he said quietly, his lips close to her ear. "I mean it," Lily insisted, her voice softer. "But give me a month. I'll find a place, secure it, and leave your estate." Kai's grip tightened slightly, his tone low but firm. "You can stay as long as you wish." The words hung between them, heavy, dangerous. Lily bit her lower lip again, nervous and shy all at once. Kai's gaze dropped instantly, his self-control unraveling. "You need to stop biting your lip, Lily." He looked at her softly, his heart beating faster than usual. Before she could move, his mouth was on hers. This time, she didn't resist. She melted into the kiss, her arms trembling as she held on to him, kissing him back with a hunger she didn't know she possessed. Their closeness created a fire neither of them could deny. But across the sprawling garden, just beyond the iron fence, a figure watched in silence. A man, his eyes cold, binoculars in his hands, his lips curving into a bitter smile. Marcus Chen. He had watched Kai and Lily kiss passionately. Her second kiss had changed everything. In the days that followed, Lily found herself spending more time with Kai. He wasn't a man who spoke easily, but his actions, the stolen glances, the subtle smirks, the way his hand lingered near hers, told a story words could not. That morning, as they sat in the back of the sleek black SUV, Lily felt the weight of his stare. Kai's men kept their eyes forward, but Sarah noticed. So did everyone else. Kai leaned in slightly, his gaze locking on Lily's lips. "You look breathtaking," he whispered, his voice rough enough to make her shiver. Heat flushed Lily's cheeks. She swallowed, leaning just enough for only him to hear. "Thank you," she whispered back. Their eyes lingered, an invisible fire burning between them until the SUV pulled into the grand planned hotel where his meeting awaited. The conference was long, filled with sharp exchanges and handshakes with dangerous men in expensive suits. Lily kept to the background, her presence unusual, but no one dared question Kai's decision to bring her. By the time they reached the underground garage, the tension from the meeting had faded into quiet relief. But relief didn't last long. A voice sliced through the air. "Kai Min." They all turned. Standing by a sleek black SUV was a man dressed in tactical gear, his hair pulled into a severe style, a pistol gleaming in his hand. His aim was steady, not at Kai, but at Lily. Marcus Chen. His eyes burned with fury, his voice sharp enough to cut through steel. "How dare you replace me with this woman?" he roared, his finger twitching on the trigger. Lily froze, her breath hitching as the gun's barrel aligned with her chest. "What?" She blinked, her confusion spilling out in a stammer. "I thought he was your enemy, not your partner." She turned, to Kai, her mouth falling open. Kai's jaw tightened, his voice flat and heavy. "He's both my enemy and my former associate." Lily's stomach dropped, the world tilting beneath her feet. Kai took a step forward, his fury finally cracking through his calm exterior. "Why did you betray me, Marcus?" His voice thundered across the concrete walls. "After everything we built together, you turned against me." Marcus's face twisted, his finger tightening on the trigger. "Because you refused to value me the way I valued you," he spat, his voice shaking with rage. "You deserve every bit of my betrayal." Kai's men raised their guns instantly, but Marcus smirked, taking a slow step backward toward his SUV. "Apprehend him!" Kai barked. His guards surged forward, but Marcus was faster. He darted into the open door of his vehicle, slamming it shut as the engine roared to life. Before the SUV sped away, he rolled down the window just enough for his cold eyes to meet Kai's. "If I can't work with you," he hissed, his lips curling into a bitter smile, "then no one will. Not her, not anyone." The glass slid up, sealing his threat, and the SUV screeched out of the garage, disappearing into the night. Lily stood frozen, her heart pounding, her mind spinning with the words she had just heard. Enemy, former partner, betrayal. And for the first time, she realized being near Kai wasn't just dangerous, it was lethal. The car ride back to the estate was silent. Lily sat, pressed against the window, her reflection pale and trembling against the dark glass. Her mother's presence beside her brought little comfort. The only thing that echoed in her mind was Marcus's voice dripping with venom. "How dare you replace me with this woman? Enemy, former associate, obsession." Those were the words to describe Marcus Chen. When they finally stepped into the foyer, Lily spun on Kai, her voice trembling with fury. "You knew." Kai's gaze narrowed. "Knew what? That he was your former partner?" Lily's voice cracked, echoing through the marble halls. "That he's obsessed with you, that he despises me. You kept that hidden, and now my life is in danger because of you." His men froze in the hallway, exchanging tense glances. No one spoke, no one dared move. Lily's chest heaved as tears welled in her eyes. "I can't stay here anymore. I won't let my mother be dragged into this chaos because of you." She grabbed Sarah's hand. "We're leaving." Her mother stiffened, startled by her sudden grip. But before she could speak, Kai's voice cut through the air like steel. "You're safer here than anywhere else." Lily snapped her head toward him. "Safe? You call this safe? He pointed a gun at me today because of you. He said if he can't have you, no one can. Do you even comprehend what that means?" Kai stepped closer, his presence towering, his voice calm but cold. "It means he won't stop until he gets what he wants. And if you walk out of this estate, he'll eliminate you before you even take your next breath." Sarah raised her hand gently, her voice weary but firm. "Lily, listen to him. I know you're frightened, but he's right. This estate is the safest place for us. Out there, Marcus has power we can't fight. In here, we're under his protection." Lily's grip on her mother loosened. Her tears blurred her vision, her breath coming in shaky bursts. She hated it, hated that they were right, hated that Kai's shadow was the only shield she had against another threat. But hate didn't erase the betrayal. The estate had grown colder these past few days. Lily barely looked at him anymore. She walked past him in the halls like he was a stranger. At meals, she sat rigid, eyes down, lips sealed. Kai had endured it long enough. This evening, he found her in the library, standing near the tall windows with a book pressed to her chest, but her eyes lost in thought. "Lily." His voice was low, commanding. She didn't answer. She didn't even glance at him, just turned and began walking toward the door. But Kai's hand shot out, grabbing her wrist, pulling her back until she collided with his chest. Her breath caught. His grip wasn't cruel, but firm, unyielding. "I've had enough of you ignoring me," he growled, his eyes burning into hers. "Do you think I don't notice? Every time you turn your back, every time you push me away, I feel it, Lily, and I despise it." Her heart hammered. She pushed at his chest weakly. "Release me." "No." His arm wrapped tighter around her waist, his breath hot against her ear. "I missed you. Every single day you refused to look at me. I missed you. And I'm done pretending I don't care." Her lips trembled. "You should have been honest with me about him, about Marcus." His jaw tightened. "I know, and I apologize." For once, the arrogance in his voice cracked, replaced with raw honesty. "But listen to me. I will protect you. I'll find Marcus and deal with him myself, for threatening you and for betraying me. He doesn't deserve a single piece of me anymore." Before Lily could answer, Kai lowered his head and captured her mouth in a fierce kiss. Her eyes widened, her hands pushing at him. Then finally she shoved him back, gasping, "I can't keep kissing someone I'm not in a relationship with." Her voice broke. Kai's eyes softened, his chest rising heavily as he stepped closer again. "But you know I care about you. You know you mean more to me than you should. It's not enough." Her glare wavered, her lips trembling as tears threatened. He reached up, cupping her cheek, his thumb brushed the corner of her lips. "Then be my girlfriend, Lily." Her breath hitched. "Are you certain you want that?" "I'm absolutely certain," Kai whispered, his forehead pressing against hers. "I think about you when you're angry at me. I think about you every second of the day. You drive me insane, Lily, but you also make me feel alive, and I don't ever want that to stop." She couldn't answer, not with words. So when his lips came down on hers, again, she didn't resist. She kissed him back hungrily, desperately, as if she had been holding back for too long. The kiss deepened, turning breathless, his hands sliding down her back, pulling her closer until there was no space left between them. Her body responded before her mind could catch up, her fingers tangling in his hair. When he finally lifted her into his arms, her lips never left his. And that night, in the shadows of his room, Lily surrendered to him completely, their hearts colliding in a way that was both reckless and inevitable. The first light of dawn slipped through the curtains, bathing the room in soft gold. Lily stirred, her cheek resting against a warm, solid chest. Kai's arm was draped over her waist, holding her as though even in sleep he refused to let go. When she tried to move, his grip tightened and his voice rumbled against her ear. "Don't even think about it," he teased, his lips brushing her hair. "You're not escaping me in the morning after what we shared last night." Heat rushed to Lily's cheeks. She buried her face into his chest, embarrassed yet unable to hide the shy smile curving her lips. Kai tilted her chin up, his smirk devilish. "You know," he whispered, "I'm privileged. Your first kiss, your first time, all mine. Do you have any idea how much that means to me?" Lily's heart pounded. She swallowed nervously but forced herself to speak. "I've never fallen for anyone before. I thought I never would, but you're the first man I care about, Kai. The only one." For a moment his arrogant mask slipped away, leaving only a man staring at her as if she were the rarest thing in the world. "You don't know what you've done to me," he murmured, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Your beauty, your defiance, your fire. I want more of you, Lily. Every day, every night. You're mine now." Her smile softened, but a shadow clouded her expression. "My mind isn't at peace, not while your former partner is still out there. Marcus, he despises me, and he won't stop until he gets what he wants." Kai kissed her forehead gently. "You don't have to worry. My men are already searching for him. He won't come near you again. I promise." As if fate had been waiting for that very moment, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. Kai picked it up, listening silently. Then his lips curved into a rare smile. "They've captured him," he said simply. "Marcus Chen has been arrested." Lily sat up in shock, eyes wide. "Really?" "Yes." He set the phone down, pulling her back into his arms. "It's over. He can't hurt you anymore." Relief flooded Lily, tears welling in her eyes. She clung to him tightly, her voice trembling. "Thank you." Kai held her face in his hands, pressing a soft kiss to her lips. "Don't thank me. I told you I'll protect you always. And not just that." His voice lowered, husky with emotion. "I love you, Lily. Forever." Lily's lips curved into a radiant smile, her tears mingling with laughter as she kissed him back. And in that quiet morning light, wrapped in each other's arms, they finally found something neither of them thought they ever would. Peace. The end. If you enjoyed this beautiful story, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another captivating tale. Share this video with someone who loves powerful romance stories. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.